small block versus big block. If you followed NHRA Pro Stock drag racing at any point in the 1970s or 1980s, you know that battle line defined everything. The Chevy guys had the cubic inches. The Mopar guys had the Hemis. And Ford, well, Ford had a 351 cubic inch small block that most people in the Pro Stock paddock didn't take seriously, and an economy car that was mostly famous for catching fire. On paper, that combination had absolutely no business winning anything. But one self-taught mechanic from Indianapolis looked at that engine, looked at that little car, and saw something nobody else did. This is the story of Bob Glidden, his Ford Pinto, and the 351 Cleveland 4V that turned the Pro Stock world completely upside down. Now, to understand why that mattered, you have to understand how Pro Stock actually worked. See, it wasn't just about raw horsepower. It was math. NHRA factored the class on a pounds per cubic inch basis, which meant every cubic inch of engine displacement came with a weight penalty. One small rule change could turn an engine family into a champion or a doorstop overnight. And in the early 70s, the math favored the other guys. Bill "Grumpy" Jenkins and his Chevy small blocks owned the class. The Mopar teams had serious factory backing, and Ford was essentially showing up to a fight where the rulebook wasn't written with their engine in mind. You had to be either crazy or incredibly smart to run a Ford in Pro Stock. Bob Glidden happened to be both. Bob Glidden wasn't some factory golden boy with a corporate engineering team behind him. He was a line mechanic at Ed Martin Ford dealership in Indianapolis, Indiana, self-taught, stubborn, and absolutely obsessed with making Ford engines go faster than anyone thought they could. This wasn't a corporate war room operation. This was a man, a shop, a flow bench, and a willingness to grind on cylinder heads until everyone else in the building had gone home. He'd been racing since the mid-1960s, starting with a 427-powered Ford Fairlane in stock and superstock classes, and then stepping up to a 428 Cobra Jet Mustang by the end of the decade. By that point, Glidden had already earned a reputation in NHRA Division III as a guy who was incredibly difficult to beat, and his rivals knew it. But it was around 1972 that things got truly serious. Glidden purchased a purpose-built Ford Pinto Pro Stock drag car from Wayne Gap and Jack Roush, two guys who are absolute legends in the Ford racing world in their own right. Gap was actually one of the engineers involved with the 351 Cleveland 4V program at Ford, so the insider knowledge that came with that car was a real advantage. The Pinto itself had a chromoly tube frame, it was extremely lightweight, and it was built from the ground up as a proper race car. Now, I know a Pinto doesn't exactly scream intimidating when you hear the name, but back in the day you could actually order a Pinto from Ford as a rolling chassis with no interior, specifically intended for racing. It even had a part number. So this wasn't your neighbor's commuter Pinto. This was a purpose-built weapon with a very specific job to do. So, what was under the hood? The Ford 351 Cleveland 4V, and in Glidden's hands, it became an absolute monster. Now, 351 cubic inches was small for Pro Stock, especially when you're lining up against big block Chevys and Hemis with significantly more displacement. But the Cleveland had one massive advantage that Glidden understood better than just about anyone on the planet, and that was its cylinder heads. The 4V heads had these enormous canted valve ports that could flow a ridiculous amount of air at high RPM. The design was actually ahead of its time, closer to what you'd see on a big block than a traditional small block, which is why some people to this day still argue about whether the Cleveland should really be classified as a small block at all. But here's the catch. Those big ports were a double-edged sword. On a stock or mildly modified engine, the intake ports were so oversized that air velocity would drop at lower RPM, making the engine feel lazy and unresponsive off the line. For a street car, that was a real problem. For a Pro Stock drag racer who was willing to do the work, it was an opportunity. Glidden spent an absurd amount of time on the flow bench and the dyno, figuring out exactly how to make those heads work. He filled and reshaped the intake ports to bring velocity back up, while still taking advantage of all that high RPM flow potential. He modified and reshaped the combustion chambers. And from the records I could find, he was doing this kind of detailed port work years before most other Ford engine builders caught on to the same ideas. But the heads were only part of the puzzle. The Cleveland had an oiling system that was, let's say, not ideal for racing at 8,000 plus RPM. See, the 335 series oiling system fed the cam bearings and lifters first, and then whatever oil was left over went to the main bearings and rod journals. For a street engine turning 5,000 RPM, that's perfectly fine, but when you're spinning a drag racing engine to 8,000 or 9,000 RPM, you desperately need oil at the bottom end, not the top. Glidden, along with guys like Bud Moore on the NASCAR side, figured out that restricting oil flow to the cam and lifters and redirecting more of it to the mains and rod journals was the key to keeping these engines alive at high RPM. The same basic thinking behind the Cleveland oil restrictor kits you can still buy today was already being worked out by guys like Glidden back in the early 70s. And then there were the high-port exhaust plates. The stock 4V exhaust ports couldn't keep up with the intake side at high RPM, so Glidden literally cut the factory exhaust ports off the heads and fabricated raised port plates that dramatically improved exhaust flow. According to period accounts, this modification alone was worth something in the neighborhood of 90 additional horsepower, which is just staggering from a single head modification. He also ran a heavily modified tunnel ram intake manifold with filled and tapered runners to match his ported intake ports, and he experimented extensively with different crankshaft and connecting rod combinations to find the sweet spot the Cleveland demanded at those RPM levels. He even collaborated with Hooker headers, working with them on specific header designs and sizing, and both sides learned from the process. If you look at the old photos of Glidden's Cleveland intake and headwork, the welding alone tells the whole story. This was not a bolt-on parts catalog combination. This was hand-cut, hand-filled, and hand-shaped racing hardware, built by a guy who treated a flow bench the way a surgeon treats an operating table. All told, Glidden was pulling over 650 horsepower out of 351 cubic inches, and he was doing it reliably enough to win on a consistent basis. If you ask me, for a pushrod small-block Ford in the 1970s, that is absolutely insane. Heck, there are modern crate engines with more cubic inches that don't make that kind of power. And for every Ford guy who spent years hearing that the Cleveland was too weird, too peaky, or too hard to keep alive at high RPM, Glidden's Pinto was the answer they had been waiting for. The results showed up immediately. Glidden debuted the Cleveland-powered Pinto at the 1972 Super Nationals and went all the way to the runner-up spot, losing to none other than Bill Jenkins himself. For a debut with a new car and a new engine combination, that was a seriously impressive showing, and it put the entire class on notice. In 1973, he picked up his first national event win, and from there, the momentum just kept building. In 1974, Glidden won 3 national events, set record elapsed times of 8.83 and then 8.81 seconds, hit speeds near 155 miles per hour, and claimed his first NHRA Pro Stock championship. In 1975, he went on an absolute tear with 7 national event wins and captured his second consecutive championship. Depending on which record book you reference, Glidden is also credited as the first Pro Stock driver to break the 8-second elapsed time barrier around this period, though the exact milestone gets debated. But the point is impossible to miss. By the mid-1970s, this self-taught Ford mechanic had forced the entire Pro Stock class to take the little Cleveland dead seriously. Now, that's not to say Glidden had it all his own way. Lee Shepard and the Raher Morrison Chevy team gave him an incredibly tough fight through the late 70s and into the early 80s, trading championships back and forth in what a lot of people remember as one of the greatest rivalries in Pro Stock history. Shepard won 4 straight titles from 1981 to 1984 before his tragic death in a testing accident. But through all of it, Glidden kept coming back, which is how he earned the nickname Mad Dog in the pits. It wasn't because he was mean, it was because his work ethic was absolutely relentless. The hood on his car almost never came off at the track because the engine was so well prepared beforehand that it just didn't need attention between rounds. And despite that intensity, people who met Glidden at the races consistently say the same thing. He always had time for the fans, always humble, always willing to talk shop. That combination of being the hardest worker in the pits and the nicest guy in the paddock is a rare thing in any sport. And then there's the Clyde Barrow story. In April of 1934, Ford received a handwritten letter from what appeared to be the infamous bank robber himself, praising the V8 as the ultimate getaway car and saying it had every other car skinned for speed. Ford took it seriously enough to draft a thank you reply. Clyde never received it. 6 weeks later, Bonnie and Clyde were ambushed and killed in a stolen 1934 Ford V8. Whether the letter is genuine is still debated, but it sits in the Henry Ford Museum to this day. I'll leave that to you. But the fact remains that even with all that extra weight, Glidden kept winning, which honestly just makes his engineering advantage look even more ridiculous. Over the course of a career that spanned more than 25 years in Pro Stock, Bob Glidden accumulated 85 NHRA national event wins and 10 championships, including a record 5 consecutive titles from 1985 through 1989. He raced Pintos, Fairmonts, Thunderbirds, an EXP, and even a Ford Probe, and in 1979 he briefly switched to a Plymouth Arrow just to prove the point that he could win with a different manufacturer entirely, which he did by capturing that year's championship. His wife Etta was a critical part of the team from the very beginning, handling operations and being right there in the pits through every single season. And later, his sons Billy and Rusty joined as well. It was a true family racing operation in every sense. But what really matters for the long game is what Glidden's work did for the Cleveland as an engine platform. The extensive port modifications, the raised exhaust port concept, the oiling system solutions, the chamber reshaping, all of those innovations eventually made their way into the Ford Motorsport A3-cylinder head, which was essentially a production casting that carried most of Glidden's tricks rolled into a single package. And the influence didn't stop at drag racing either. The raised exhaust port concept was picked up by guys like Kent Ford and eventually Ernie Elliott for NASCAR applications, which means Glidden's headwork was helping Ford win on oval tracks too. So the guy wasn't just winning weekend drag races. He was genuinely pushing the state-of-the-art forward for anyone who wanted to build a serious Ford small block, and a lot of the aftermarket Cleveland performance parts you can buy today trace their thinking back to what he was doing in that shop in Indiana decades ago. Bob Glidden passed away on December 17, 2017, at the age of 73, and the response from the racing community was enormous. Even lifelong Chevy guys came out to say they respected the man and what he accomplished. One of his actual Pinto race cars later sold at auction for $220,000, reportedly with a genuine Glidden-built 650 horsepower Cleveland still in it. To be honest with you, whoever bought that car didn't just buy a race car. They bought a piece of engineering history from a man who proved that Ford's forgotten small block could embarrass engines with more cubic inches, more money, and more factory support behind them. The Cleveland did not just win trophies in Glidden's hands. It earned something that no rulebook adjustment could take away, and that was respect. But that wraps up the full story of Bob Glidden, his little Ford Pinto, and the 351 Cleveland 4V that rewrote the NHRA Pro Stock record books. If you ever saw Glidden race back in the day, or if you ever fought with a 351 Cleveland in your own garage, drop your story in the comments below, because I'd genuinely love to hear it. Engines like this don't just make horsepower, they leave witnesses. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I will see you all in the next one, enthusiasts.